were expected to our own, let's say, understand. I cannot.
Now, talking on the issue of LGBTQ rights, Deepak ji, somewhere law is giving them, some legal rights, some identity. Definitely, every human being has a right to have, all pride and whatever. But on the other hand, if that pride parade or the extreme glorifying of something which is not the essence of my dharma, what is my right? How can I protect my Sanatan Dharma? Where is the legal protection of Sanatan Dharma, which is the actual essence of this whole nation? So how can my civilization be protected from some Western ideology which is, swaying the whole younger generation away? Right? On a lighter note, I would wind up. How can we free temples in Telangana if BJP and KCR both are not keeping this issue in the manifesto in the coming elections? Thank you, Deepak. Please answer.
So one of the things, I'll answer the final question first quickly. As long as the Hindu interest is held hostage to any single organization, this will be your fate. And therefore, I believe that nobody can claim to be the sole representative of our interests unless they actually act in accordance with that belief by implementing policy changes, not mere symbolic changes. And the biggest policy change to demonstrate your claim to being the sole or the primary guardian of Hindu interest is by freeing our religious institutions from state control, even if you are in power, and especially because you're in power. 2, the other thing is we have, according to me, enacted weaponized legislations which encourage encroachment of property in favor of one particular community. That needs to be addressed. So these are the 2 issues which, according to me, which have to go hand in hand. Free us and stop encroachment. 2, on the question, what was your first question? LGBTQ issue, right. Now, here's the thing, and this, I think, calls for a slightly more complex answer. Hindus suddenly care for temples because somebody cares for mosques. Hindus suddenly start thinking about LGBTQ because West is talking about LGBTQ. Hindus suddenly think of environment when the West starts talking about environment or the left is taking up environmentalism. Why? Until then, where is our originality? आपकी हिंदुत्व जो है तभी जागरूक होती है जब किसी और को आप देखते हैं. That is equally a problem. I have seen this in several institutions and several subjects. Why did it require someone from the West? Because you see, they are anyway mischievous evangelists. I'll just use it in a very secular way, right? I am not giving any religious identity to their evangelism. People are welcome to draw their own conclusions. They are mischievous evangelists looking for entry points through societal fissures which already exist, or fault lines which already exist, or fault lines which are not that strong but which can be wedged and pried open. That's what they're looking at. This is not something that is a relatively new phenomenon. It's been going on at least for the last 2 centuries. I'd say at least for the last 2 centuries. The investment goes well beyond the 70 years. Where is the strategic thinking from the Hindu community to try and address internal weaknesses? There are temples dedicated to the Tritiya Prakriti, run by them with deities. Why do we suddenly remember them only when the Western LGBTQ agenda is here? You see, I am not saying that we too are the same as the West when it comes to this issue. No, we actually have a very different position. Dignity, 100% yes. Treatment, 100% yes. But can it become the norm? We have our positions on that. That's where we are entitled to draw our positions in terms of our civilizational positions. Because we respect a certain institution, and an institution which requires procreation, because there is a karma that is associated with it, there is a certain sanskara that is associated with it, with all these layers inbuilt in it, we respect this as the norm. Doesn't mean that we will disrespect you as the norm. We are only saying that when you look at moral compass, okay, let's take this discussion slightly forward. It's not as if all marriages today are succeeding, and it's not as if all marriages lead to children. So why should we actually be governed by the concept of dampatya or progeny to define marriage as an institution? If two elderly single people at some point decide to marry each other for the sake of companionship, where is the question of procreation there in terms of begetting a child after a point? Right? So if those examples exist, how do you then treat this as the norm? The answer is this. A norm is decided by treating something as the aspirational ideal, even if the society does not follow it everywhere. Which is to say, if this is the standard, you get to see deviation. यहाँ से कितना हो रहा है, वहाँ से कितना हो रहा है. Standard को ही अगर आपने कम कर दिया, बचेगा क्या? I'll take one of the arguments forward. Assume for a moment that 4 or 5 people are happily existing in a multi-amorous relationship. They are all consenting adults, and hopefully not brothers and sisters, right? Who are prohibited by degrees of freedom, right? And they are doing so. Question should be, तुम्हारा क्या जा रहा है? That is a harm question, right? That is the harm principle being put in action. So should we elevate this to the status of a norm? The norm is always going to be defined by a certain degree of puritanism, whether you like that word or not. The question is, people are yet to understand the concept of the slippery slope, where you keep diluting the standards step by step, stage by stage, and kill the institution, and then nothing remains of that institution. Then you get what is currently going on in America, where people don't know what is content which is capable of being consumed by children. They don't understand the concept of public spaces. The concept of public morality is gone. Here's the worst possible argument that they can make. There are so many fantastic LGBTQ representatives who speak out against wokeism actually. Who actually speak out against this because they're saying, when you do this, you're delegitimizing my position. You're reinforcing every negative stereotype that every person of this particular sexual orientation is necessarily a pervert who is a pedophile in hiding. Don't do that. They keep saying this. Who is listening to them? Now, the other side will not listen to them because this is a politically incorrect voice. So who is supposed to give them the megaphone? Us. Because if you and I say this, homophobe, this and that, all sorts of allegations will come. Patriarch, a man apparently can't speak against this. Who can speak against this? I don't understand. Until you are this, you can't speak. Why will I change my gender for this man? Or my orientation for that matter? You have to be this to be able to speak at this. Acha. So everyone who speaks of a caste atrocity, do you come from the community which has been oppressed? Don't speak, no then. That logic is very selectively applied. The larger point is, don't wait for somebody else to pick up the issue. If you're serious about those people, then pick up the issue before somebody else does. Hindutva cannot be limited only to the aspect of history. It is also about people first. Institutions, people, dharma, prakriti, animals. I am someone who believes in the concept of Pashubali as a vegetarian, but I'm equally a dog lover. I have 3 dogs. I don't see a dissonance in this. There is no cognitive dissonance in these positions. That has a different sanctity. This has a different perspective altogether. I know where love ends and obligation begins. And I know where, let's say, you need to draw the line between this all-pervasive concept called love, 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 and love. Sorry, some things are not based on love. They're based on the concept of duty and obligation. Does every father love his son? It could be just because of obligation also. There is an obligation, right? The point I'm trying to make is, I think we have made public discussions very mushy, extremely mushy. There is no room for clear-cut positions. There is no room for certitude. There is no room for obligation. There's no room for duty. There's only room for right, 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 and right. आज की सभा